So like Vince, right, you're probably all wondering, public speaking? Really? Is that a content marketing concept? Is that a content marketing program? Well, we asked some of his favorite friends, right, who are really smart people, and like me, I believe public speaking actually is or should be a content marketing program like any other program, right? But we can't just phone it in, right? This requires dedicating resources. This requires taking that program, that concept to another level. And if we do, you really dramatically increase the return on your efforts and your investment in a speaking program. So you're all intrigued. You want to know more. You want to know how we do this. So let's go ahead and dive in. But first, why public speaking? What is the role? What is the value of public speaking in a public speaking program? The first really is obviously buzz, right? You're at a conference like this, thousands of people. If you work for a vendor or something, you've got somebody on stage speaking or a client or whatever, you're generating lots of talk, right? It could be PR articles or there could be interviews. There are a lot of things. So the first primary fundamental foundation of getting somebody from your company up on the stage is people are talking about you, right? And there's ancillary things that can come out of that, right? The second thing is thought leadership, right? If you're in, and that's, when I started in my career in 1984, yes, I'm that old, we didn't call it content marketing, right? I called it thought leadership. And then, suddenly like 6-7 years ago or something, we changed it. But we used to call it thought leadership. I still like that term, particularly sort of for professional services, B2B companies. It's that idea that you're presenting content, you're creating content and positioning that differentiates you from your competitors. Right? You're creating content that creates value for your customers and prospects. And so if you've got somebody on stage working for your company or a client, right, and you have a different way of thinking about a topic, different than the other 50 sessions that are going on or whatever it is, right? You're able to use that and generate great positioning for your company and brand at that particular event and then afterwards. And finally, the most important thing at the end of the day, probably for most events, is turning it into revenue, turning it into leads, turning it into business, direct people coming to your booth and signing up to become a lead, taking it to that next level, right? And one of the things that most people actually ignore and drives me fundamentally crazy, including people on our own marketing team at our organization, is the one thing that a lot of people don't think about when it comes to public speaking programs is retention. There's nothing worse than going to a conference and seeing your competitors on stage speaking, doing keynotes, doing different things. And you run into 10, 12, 15 of your clients, and all they're doing is seeing your competitors speak on stage. And your clients are wondering, why aren't you here? Why aren't you speaking? Right? Where's your booth? Where are you? Right? And even if you don't have a booth, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit, the power of, if you're not investing in that particular event, right, get somebody on stage, right? And so it's really important. Your clients are going, we selected you. We chose you over those other competitors. Why don't we see you at the events and conferences, right? So it's really important when you think about the investment and resources that go into, public speaking programs, conferences, events, is that you think about the return on making your existing clients go, I made the right choice, right? We made the right choice. The client that we chose, or the vendor that we chose, is a thought leader. We see them at all the conferences. They're saying really smart stuff. Right? So don't forget that part of it. And I think most people never even sort of think about it. They just think about leads. Think about the benefit of retaining your existing clients with that positioning. So the question becomes to all of you in the room, what kind of a program do you have currently? Do you even have a program? How many people in the room actually think your company has an organized public speaking program? Actually, it looks like about 10 of you or something like that. I'm impressed. I want to learn more afterwards. So, but the question is what kind of a program is this? Just get to you there, right? You get a couple people on stage and that's kind of it. You're not really maximizing. Or for those of you that are not electric car fans in the room, that's a Tesla, the best car ever made, right? Is it state of the art? What kind of a program do you have and how do you get there? So if it's not a great program, what's stopping you from getting there? To me, the first thing that stops any organization from having sort of a great public speaking program is a lack of speakers, right? Fundamentally, what I'm going to talk about today is scale. How do you scale a public speaking program? And the first thing is you have to have people who can speak. And they should be good. Not just anybody, they should be good, right? So we'll talk about that in a minute, how you expand that. No process or focus. Out of all of you in the room, there was about 10 of you that said you actually had a program. That's the point, right? Most of you have no formal process or way of thinking about public speaking programs and how you maximize it, how you do it best. And fundamentally, I believe what's driving all of that is that there is nobody in your organization that probably, except for a few of you in this room, where there's actually somebody, at least as part of their job, oversees and organizes with other people in the organization public speaking. I'm not suggesting that you should all run out and have a chief speaking officer. We have enough chiefs. But probably as part of at least somebody's job, whether they're a PR person or whatever, there's probably needs to be somebody who actually really and truly owns the concept, not just a piece of it. So what that all adds up to is if you don't have any of those things kind of in place, is you cannot scale your program, right? You cannot have hundreds of people speaking throughout the year in India and Singapore and Boston and Cleveland and wherever it is. And that's the point. You want people speaking all the time, everywhere for your organization. So my premise today really is really quite simple, that public speaking probably needs to become a formal marketing or content marketing program like everything else in your organization. You have people that focus on blogs, video, your website, SEO, etc. I believe it's time for public speaking to rise up and actually be kind of a formal content role, if you will. Again, I'm not necessarily suggesting a major VP role or anything like that, but just somebody in the organization has some accountability and responsibility about it.